Hello, you wonderful people. For today's video, I want to talk about something I refer to as the Great 5 Anime Binge. This is basically 5 anime series that are pretty long that I binge on heavily to, in some cases, completion, and to others, like far enough into the series, that I might have been completely caught up at that time. I'm gonna go in chronological order of lowest episodes watched to the highest number of episodes watched. And number 1 on the list is Bleach. Now, Bleach I had stopped for a little while because I was watching the English dub. It was airing on Adult Swim here in the US at the time, and it was like roughly around, but it's after Ichigo and Grimmjow's final battle has its conclusion. That was like roughly like 160 or so. Basically, there was a little filler arc after the conclusion of that battle. But basically, I didn't watch all of that filler. I kind of stopped for a while, and it wasn't until like August of 2012, so this may have been, I don't know whether it was like a year later, I mean a little less than a year later, but I ended up picking up Bleach again because this is like a couple months after the anime had ended / canceled or whatever. I picked it up afterwards. I picked up like right after that conclusion, so I picked up where I was in the Wako Mundo arc, and I finished all the way to the end of the anime, which ended with the conclusion of the Fullbringer arc. I was watching about probably like 15 or 20 episodes a day, so it took me maybe a month and a half to complete that, I think. I did skip over some episodes. Usually it was the filler episodes that were just kind of like one-off episodes, kind of smack dab in the middle. There were 2 filler arcs that were of decent length that I ended up watching. There was the one where the Zanbakuto came to life, so I thought that was a pretty cool one. And then there's the one that takes place before the Fullbringer arc. Basically, after Ichigo fights a pretty big baddie, a certain thing happens to him, because I'm not trying to spoil for anything for Bleach for anyone that doesn't know. In the manga, it seems like that thing happening to Ichigo was, now I could be completely wrong, maybe my understanding is that it was a full filler arc, but maybe it actually wasn't, maybe it happened in the manga. But from what I remember reading online, it's like, no, that whole thing happened to Ichigo happened pretty instantaneous, but like basically in the anime they built an entire arc around it, which nevertheless I really liked the arc. It was a very interesting arc, and then it led into the Fullbringer arc. And side note, kind of a thing I'm tacking on here, at the time I'm recording this, Bleach has recently come to an end, which I hear a lot of people aren't satisfied with, and I feel like there's a lot of things like basically the person behind Bleach was kind of rushed to hurry up and finish it. Just a lot of contributing factors, but personally, I have no opinion on the subject because I have not finished Bleach. Like, after I finished the anime back in 2012, I read maybe 1, maybe 2 volumes of the final arc, but I haven't read anything past that and subsequently since. So like, I'm not going to jump to the end and find out how it all ends. So that's just something I'm gonna have to go back and pick the manga back up and read all the way through until I get to the end, and then I could have a proper opinion about it. So next up on the list is Katekyo Hitman Reborn. For the longest time I always pronounced it Katekyo Hitman Reborn, but last year I found out it's properly pronounced Katekyo, I think. Nevertheless, it'd be simpler just to refer to as Reborn, because that's sometimes you'll simply see it referred to as that. This is back in February of 2011, because I remember the anime ended about like 2010, so it was all complete at the time I started watching it. But at that time we got better internet at my house, so it was a lot easier to stream anime, so I could easily watch about roughly the same thing as Bleach, maybe like 15-20 episodes a day. It all depended on different circumstances. When during the day I started, when did I stop at night or / in the morning, because sometimes I'd be watching anime well into the morning, plus how often I had to stop because other people needed to use the computer too, because it was kind of a house computer. It's like, oh, why not watch anime on your phone? My phone was crappy at the time, and it was just not easy to watch anime on. But I ended up binging on the entire series because it's like 203 episodes in about 3 or 4 weeks, I think it took me to complete. I think that's the shortest amount of time it's ever took me to like run through an anime. There were a few episodes I skipped over, particularly some like, there was like a few recap episodes I skipped over, but more often than that, more of that I watched every episode, because I don't think that anime had that many fillers anyway, so there was nothing really like that I necessarily needed to skip over. There was like at least one particular filler arc. It takes place during the future arc of the series, and there's basically like a little arc of them training. There's an extra step in there that wasn't taken in the manga but was taken in the anime. So number 3 on the list is Naruto Shippuden. Shippuden's a series that I started like a long time ago. Like, I got up to maybe like episode 40 or so. It's basically when Naruto and Sakura were reunited with Sasuke for the first time since, since the Sasuke retrieval arc. So it had been a long time, and I was like, you know what? It's been a while. I want to get back into Naruto. So I decided I was going to like restart the anime. I remember the original anime pretty well, so I was like, you know what? You know, since I didn't get too far into the Shippuden, let's just start it over from the beginning. So I went from the very beginning all the way up till like about episode 300 something. It's like the earlier 300s, maybe 320s or whatever. It's roughly around the same time, like basically, without going into too many spoilers, a certain character basically starts bringing a lot of dead characters back to life. I know that's a spoiler, but at least I'm not saying who this person is for anyone that doesn't know. And basically, Naruto did some training to learn how to control more of the QBI's powers, and basically this new release of power takes on a particular looking form. I'm sure anyone that comes across this video might be like, I know what particular form you're talking about. So I did skip over some filler episodes here and there, but more often than not, I did watch a lot of the smaller filler arcs. There were certain like one-off episodes I didn't watch. Usually episodes was just like, oh, and now we're going to delve back into the background of this character, because I'm like, no, I'm super impatient. I want to keep going on with the main plot. But this was like 2 or 3 years ago, so I did end up stopping. This was around the last time I was heavily watching anime, so I have not subsequently watched any Naruto since then, so I'm pretty far behind at this point. At that time, I think I was getting pretty close to catching up with the anime. Number 4 on the list is One Piece. So it had been a while for One Piece as well, because originally I was watching One Piece on Toonami, like on Saturdays, but basically the scheduling got screwed up at the time. You know, it's around that time that basically Toonami only started airing only Naruto, and it was just mainly the filler arcs. So that being what it was, I lost touch with One Piece for a while. It wasn't until kind of around the same time I started watching Bleach again, back in August of like 2012, is when I was like, you know what, now is the perfect time to get back into One Piece. I got a lot of spare time, so I picked up One Piece. Roughly, there's that little arc that takes place, it's a filler arc that takes place before the Skypiea arc, and so I started there. So that's like late 120s / early 130s that all happens. So I started there and I went all the way to like maybe 560 or so. This is after the time skip. This is like maybe like the Fishman Island arcs. Like if I remember correctly, I think it was like I got up to the point about the conclusion of Luffy and Harley's fight, but at that time I was getting pretty close to completely catching up with the anime. I was like maybe like a couple episodes behind, and I didn't want that, so I took another break from it. But I ended up picking up, you know, the conclusion of the Fishman Island arc, and then I went all the way throughout Punk Hazard, stopped a few times, but then went to its completion and then stopped because once again I was catching up too quickly. So, and finally, Detective Conan. Now, unlike One Piece, Bleach, and Naruto, it had been many years since I had seen Detective Conan, or as it was known here in the States when it was like airing on Adult Swim, Case Closed. To my recollection, the series only went up to about episode 50 something. That's like the later episode, that's the highest episode I remember it getting up to. Maybe it actually went past that. Like I said, it's been such a long time, I don't remember. So roughly about 2013, that I was like, you know what, it's been a long time. Like I've heard, like at the time I heard people bringing up Detective Conan. I was like, oh, I haven't watched it in such a long time. I was like, you know what, I'm gonna rewatch it. And so I was like, you know what, I don't remember exactly where I had left off, which like I said probably was more like episode 50. There were some episodes I had missed because I didn't watch it every week like I wanted to, just didn't have the chance to, because I was young at the time and I had a bedtime. So I took this time in early 2013 and I started watching it, but I started it from the very beginning, which is very interesting because it was nice, because it's like, okay, like some of those earlier cases, like, oh, I remember Twisted this case, and it's like, I remember this case, but like I said, there were some episodes I didn't, so some of those cases were pretty new to me until I got like to the 50 episode mark or so, and then I was like, okay, from here it's all new territory. So I spent the next like 3 or 4 months binging on the entire series. Like I said, there were complications that I couldn't watch it as consistently as I wanted to, so it made me kind of stop for a little while, but then like got whole computer situation fixed and basically was able to continue watching. So I went from the very beginning all the way up until about episode 700 or so, because that's roughly as far as the anime had gotten at that time. That was like the latest episodes were in the 700s, early 700s in particular. I think it was like 705 was where it was at the time, and I got up to about 700, and then I was like, you know what? Some pretty heavy storyline stuff seemed like it's about to happen. Some major story stuff. So I was like, nope, I'm not gonna watch anymore. I'm not gonna sit here and watch week to week, wait week to week just to keep watching in case it comes. So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna back away and give it some time to breathe. Waited a little while longer, let it get a little further. It took me about 2 weeks before I got that itch again. I was like, I gotta keep watching. I gotta find out what happened. Watch that little bit of like the story's progression, and then it start going into fillers again. I was like, okay, I can stop again. It's just like, it didn't take up, it wasn't one of those really long arcs. It was just kind of like a small main story arc that was happening, and so it didn't go as far as I wanted it to. So like I said, that's kind of roughly around the same time I stopped watching anime. So that like episode like 704 or 5 was as far as I made it. That is the longest series I've had the most experience with. Now I haven't watched all 700 episodes. There were some episodes I skipped over because I knew there were filler arcs. So there's about like maybe 30 plus episodes that I skipped. A very interesting thing is this particular anime site I was watching it on, it only applied to like the first episodes. I wish they had kept it up, but maybe it was because it was a different person subbing them or whatever. But basically, they would basically tell you like in parentheses when the episode title came up, it'd be like, oh, this is a filler episode, or oh, this is based off volume 1, chapter 5 of the manga. So I thought that was pretty interesting. But like I said, they only did it for like the first couple dozen episodes. After that, it was completely everything I've mentioned up here. If you've never had experience with it, I do highly recommend all these series too, because however most people feel about them, I really adore all these series. My question to you is, what is the biggest binges for you? These are the 5 biggest binges that I've had so far experienced in my life. What are they for you? It could be like, oh, I binged on a whole bunch of movies back to back, or a bunch of TV shows. Let me know in the comments down below. But that's really all I wanted to talk about in this video. To the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.